All right, so it's Buckeye Patriots Podcast here tonight on a Sunday night. As always, got a really good crew here tonight. We got Sandra O'Brien, who is a state senator from Ashtabula County. So way to go. We'll do the ceremonial initiation there. We also have Brian on the far right, but Brian is missing in action. We'll see if he comes along. Jake and Sabrina, hey guys. And a special guest tonight, Michael Mercier. So he's going to tell us all about bias in media. So let's get started with you, Sandra, if we could, because that was quite an accomplishment you have. So you're brand new state senator there from Ashtabula County. So how is it? How's it been going? So you were christened, I would say, 2021, I think, right? January? You were sworn in?
Right. It's great to be with you and all your listeners, Joe. I represent Trumbull County, Ashtabula County, and Geauga County.
Great.
There's only 33 senators in the state of Ohio, so we have larger districts, which is fine, which is great. It's going well.
You got a lot of land to cover. You're right. You got a lot of territory to cover. Yeah, when you're campaigning.
I do. In my district, I do. Right.
Hey, let me ask you a question along those lines for a second, Sandra, because you had a very unique situation where you went up against a very tough opponent, and the opponent was O'Brien. I don't know if I've ever how common that is, but we had, and this is interesting, I think very interesting, we had O'Brien versus O'Brien, and I'm really glad that O'Brien ended up winning. But how did you pull that out? So the Democrat was Sean O'Brien, right?
Correct. And he was from Trumbull County, the largest county in the Democrat county. So it wasn't easy, but I did defeat the sitting incumbent. And we did have the same last name. I will tell you, it was an underlying theme for the entire campaign. I did spend the majority of my time in Trumbull County. And I had so many people say, is it a family fight? Is he your nephew? I even had someone ask if he was my ex-husband. I said, no, I don't have one of those.
I was going to ask you that, too. I was going to ask you, maybe it was your husband. No. And that would be good. I mean, you're guaranteed to win, right? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Not only that, somebody pointed out early, we have the exact same initials because he spells Sean, S-E-A-N, and I've got the S from Sandra. And it was kind of intriguing to some of the
so with the voters
there.
And all that. Well, I mean, how did you just curious? I mean, how would you campaign on something like that? You can't say vote O'Brien. No. That doesn't help, right?
No. Well, and actually, I did have voters say to me, "How am I going to remember you?" I said, "Okay, Sandra, woman, and I'm going to have an R by my name because I'm a Republican." So, it wasn't that difficult, but I was rather surprised how it was a theme for the race.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, well, congratulations. We're glad the good guys won. I don't know if you guys have ever you ever hear of that, you guys? It'd be like you running and going up against a Warner. It's like it would be kind of unusual.
I think I've heard it's a trick that sometimes people do to try to, overcome. We've heard about it in, state reps and other Senate races. I've heard about it where they'll try to find somebody with a similar last name. Strategists like that, I guess. But, no, I've not really, other than I've heard about it, we've not been involved in anything like that. So.
Yeah, it is a very unusual strategy like that. But so anyhow, you're on the education committee, and you are vice chair. So here's what that looks like right there. And so maybe you could talk about what happened with the vouchers, because they did get approved, and that's big news, big news. So congratulations on getting that through.
Thank you. I am absolutely delighted with the end results. It was Senate Bill 13, which I was the sponsor for, and it basically it took the current EdChoice scholarships and expanded it. So the new scholarships for EdChoice It starts at it's $6,165 for students in grade K through 8, and then $8,407 for students in 9 through 12. And each student whose household income, it's basically universal eligibility, which is what I was fighting for. If your household income is at or below 450% of the federal poverty guidelines, then you receive those respective amounts total. You would get those total scholarships. It changed from, it was 250% of the federal poverty guidelines before. If you there's a running scale for it. Let's say your family of 4, that would be an income of $135,000. If you go over that, then there's a sliding scale to tell you how much of the scholarship you would get. If you're very, very affluent, you would still get 10% of these amounts. So
you're getting some of the voucher no matter how much money you make, right? But that's a pretty high threshold. Family of 4, 135,000 or whatever. That's a nice threshold there because most people are going to qualify for that. And the vouchers are pretty generous. And do they start this August? Do they really start this August?
They do right now. If you couldn't get in a private school because didn't have enough money to pay for it, then you want to get to the school. Let them know what child or children, what grades they're in, and that you want to now be involved in this universal eligibility. Then the school will work with you, and you'll never see the money. The school will say, we have Steve Smith, and he's in 4th grade, and then the school will handle the financial end from what you tell them, help you fill out documents, and then the school will receive money for that child.
That's amazing. So that is so terrific. They were able to get that through. We were worried about that because there was a lot of upheaval in the state house. The state house, which is not as level-headed as the Senate side. You guys got your act together, but you know what's been going on the state house with the Blue 22. We're always talking about those guys and Jason Stevens and everything. And I was afraid that this voucher stuff would not go through. Very, very afraid. So thank God it did. And so many parents today, especially with all the wokeism and that going on in the school system, have an opportunity now. And if they can get started on it as soon as August, I mean, that is mind-blowing. That is amazing.
Right. And Joe, too, that was my first career. I was a teacher, so I was able to argue this quite well. But I called it the Parental Educational Freedom Act because that was the whole theme of it. No one knows the students better or has their best interest than their parents. And it's not one size fits all. Parents should decide what is best for their children, and that's where they should go to that particular educational option. So that's how it was framed.
That's great. Hey, one other thing too. You were talking about a bill that you put through, or at least you're co-sponsoring it. A Cash is King, and I like the name of that. But you want to tell us about that? What's that all about?
Absolutely. I'm so proud of that bill that got put into the budget, the general revenue budget. And that is where any school event must allow citizens to enter and pay cash. They can use an app or a credit card, but that cannot be exclusive. What I witnessed firsthand is grandparents going to a football game and they try to pay with cash to buy the tickets. And obviously they would not let them, said you had to get on the app. And they look like deer in the headlights. So my husband and I said, we'll just do it for you. They said no, and they just left. And they never watched their grandson play that game, and that is wrong. So what I did is say, cash is legal tender for the United States of America. They need to accept cash.
Yeah,
so
that's funny.
in the
That's
bill
funny to say
that
that.
passed, yeah, and you know what? If they don't allow them in, unless they use an app or credit card, then those people get in for free. I put that in the bill.
So you put that in the bill? Did that get passed through? That did, huh?
They'll get in free if they don't accept cash. And that's anything, not just a sporting event.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a musical event, anything.
Yeah, so you go to these school events and it's all got to be on your cell phone and a special app and stuff like that to get in, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we got to go cash. Nothing wrong with good old hard cash. I mean, come on. So what do you think, what's in store now when you guys get back in the State House? What do you think? What's going to happen? Let me ask you another question along those lines. You can answer that too. But what is the climate in the State House? Because we've had a lot of upheaval and stuff going in the State House. Has any of that, which happened in the State House, has any of that gone over to the state side? Has that affected you guys at all?
No, I will say I'm very grateful to be a state senator. It was a harder race to win, but I'm very grateful. It's just there's less of us to work with. It's easier to get all of us on the same page, again, because there's 33 of us versus 99 in the House. So, but no, we're working hard and working together. And when we get back in the fall, we do have a few months later, we'll be working on a capital budget. The general revenue that we just passed is the largest one. And earlier in the year, we passed a transportation budget, and I'm on that committee as well. I'm on the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, and I'm chairman of the Local Government Committee. I used to be a county auditor in Asheville County.
Wow. So you're doing it all. Fantastic. Yeah, we're really glad. I'm really glad that you were able to pull that victory out, too. Never underestimate an O'Brien. That's what I always say. So, never.
Yeah, true.
Always throw that Republican after your name and stuff. Well, I wish you the best of luck with the State House and all that, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again real soon. Thank you for taking time tonight. Really, really appreciate it. If there's anything you want to add, go ahead.
Oh, there is. Absolutely. Because I thought we were going to talk about issue 1.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
It's important that I'm a hardcore conservative. It's important that we vote August 8th and we vote yes on issue 1. It's all about protecting Ohio's state constitution from these out-of-state concerns that invest millions to change our constitution. Our Constitution is bedrock, solid. It should include only limited changes, broad-based topics that basically serve as the basis of law. When we want to change law, then you come to the legislature and we change it and we vet it and we put it in the Ohio Revised Code. It should never be easy to change our Constitution. Let's look at the U.S. Constitution. If you're going to change that, it requires a 2/3 vote of both bodies. That would be the House and the Senate. And then on top of that, a 3/4 vote of all of the states. In our U.S. Constitution, we only have 27 amendments, and the first 10 were a Bill of Rights. Okay, let's flip it to Ohio. We in Ohio can get an amendment in the Constitution by 50% plus 1. That's not a majority of Ohioans. We're trying to get it to 60%. 50% plus 1 could be a counting error, and that's not how the majority of us feel. Ohio's Constitution has 172 amendments in it. We actually have addresses of gambling businesses that can only gamble in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Dayton. In our Constitution, that should be law, not in our Constitution. So it's very, very important that we get our voters out and vote yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, we've already started. July 11th was early in-person voting. August 1st is the deadline to request absentee ballots for the August 8th election.
So what do we got to do, Sandra? What do we got to do to get people to the polls? I think that's the key right now. That people say, "Oh, I'm not motivated. How am I going to get to the poll?" What do we got to do to get the Republicans to vote?
We have to think about the radical interests that could get into our Constitution if we don't do this. Currently, 32 states do not allow any citizens' initiative to change their Constitution. And so then you go out of the other 18, only 9 have that simple majority. So what the other side is telling you is simply not true. And they're using the terms one person, one vote. That is dishonest. This issue 1 has nothing to do with your voting rights or how we count ballots in an election. Absolutely nothing to do with that. Again, it's our sacred document and it shouldn't be easy to amend. And then from there, let's say someone wants to go the way of California, where they've got you can't sell pork for the farmers unless your hogs are in free range. Do we want that in Ohio? We're not California. So again, it's very, very important. This is just to protect our Constitution. So we have a super majority to change it instead of a simple majority. This is not radical by any means.
No, it's not. It's not. But it makes all the sense in the world. So you're absolutely right. We got to vote.
I just had a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Mike.
Mike.
I had a question for Cindy. I was wondering, what a sense for whether it's likely to pass on the 8th?
Yeah. Okay, Michael. Good question. I believe whoever gets their voters out will be victorious. So that's why it's very, very important that there are people who don't realize there is an election and there's only one thing that you're going to vote on, and that's it. So hopefully we can tell our people you can even go and start voting now if you're going to be out of town, but it's terribly, terribly important. Or we're going to have multi-millionaires really on both sides of the aisle putting radical issues in our Constitution. And it's really doing an end run around the state legislators like myself. That's supposed to be our job, where we vet a bill. You come in, you give proponent or opponent or interested party testimony. Our Constitution should not be that simple to change. It just should not.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point because I was just reading something here. The Ohio House, the Senate, the governor, they're powerless. You guys would be powerless to pass laws that contradict the policies of this Constitution. So if they pass something in the Constitution, the abortion issue, the transgender issue, no parental rights, you guys are powerless. So that's the power of going the Constitution route. It bypasses you, bypasses the state reps, it bypasses Governor DeWine, and they kind of write their own laws. Yeah, that's what's so scary about this whole thing. So we gotta pray, man. We gotta hope for the best with all this. So, but absolutely, yeah. So, well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking some time tonight. Okay, you're doing a terrific job, and I'm glad that you won. And keep up the good work. We need those strong conservatives, and we need them. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I'm very grateful to my constituents for electing me, and thank you.
You got it.
Okay, I'm good.
Have a good night. Yeah, thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to talk issue 1 some more here, and I believe the Mr. issue 1 guy, there he is, Mikhail Alderman. How you doing? Activist extraordinaire.
Hello.
And anybody else, Jake, Sabrina, Mike, if you guys want to chime in a little bit on any of this kind of stuff, please chime in, and we will do that. And you can also slide yourself over there. We don't have a Brian Massey. He's missing in action tonight. All right. I want you guys listen to this, because this guy really puts it together, I think, really well. Listen to this.
We know that this constitutional amendment will legalize prostitution in our state. It will legalize child prostitution in our state because there's no age restriction. It will legalize pedophilia in our state. It will legalize abortion up to birth in the state of Ohio. And we also know it will remove parental rights when it comes to gender confusion.
All right, so he's got like about a half hour. He just spews it all out, and he does a magnificent job. So I'm going to try to post that. But that is it. That's it in a nutshell, Mikhail. So how urgent is it that we pass issue 1? How urgent is this?
Super urgent. It's much more urgent than abortion because it's everything that the abortion, transgender, and everything else. And it's all the other issues as well. It's they've already got the minimum wage to the stratosphere queued up for next year. So that's going to be inflation. That's going to be every restaurant bill with a markup like in the LA and the Seattle where you see the prices and then you get the final bill and there's the minimum wage or some other markup that significantly increases the bill. So it's everything. It's for decades to come. It's going to be the nature of the state for decades to come. So if anything, the state senator O'Brien just now understated the scale and the importance of this. The left-wingers can't win anything statewide anymore, at least not much. So what are they doing? They've got the misleading language on the ballot. And then you, Joe Miller, and Brian Massey, and Mikhail Alterman have to fundraise. We have to then explain to people what's wrong with this. We have to explain to people at least the abortion part that this guy in the clip you just played says. That costs money. In the 5 media markets, 12 million person state, that's going to be a lot of money. And this is not going to be good. On top of that, you mentioned the lower house in Ohio. There's a bunch of not so strong conservatives in the House. And they're watching which way this is going to blow. If we lose this issue 1, they're going to join with the Democrats and a bunch of other toxic stuff. So
all right. So okay. Do you have anybody that you're going to call out or not? You're just going to say that there are some rhinos on the State House side, right?
I mean, you know as well as I do. You've been watching this, right? How long have I been asking for it, right? I've been on this very program with John Pleshnik, who was saying, like, look, the time to do this was last year, December, whatever else, and they didn't do it. So, Speaker Stevens, naming names. Yeah, Speaker Stevens, he's the responsible person, right? He's the
Stevens, we're just lucky as all heck that Stevens even allowed it to be put on the ballot. And I don't think it's.
But after
but we had to twist his arm to put it on the ballot. What's that all about?
Right. But look at us now. We're behind. We're behind in fundraising. We're behind in organizing. The left got a bunch of robots. Their voters are like, yeah, whichever way the Palestinian Zealer, the Cleveland Communist Jewish News, whatever else, whoever the left wingers tell me that's the way I go. Right? There's no debate with them. Right? So they're much more organized from that point of view. One of the things that most people don't realize is there's quite literally foreign cash coming in for this, right? So 32 states don't let outside groups butt in like this on the Constitution. So we do. Okay, so fine. So you can make an argument. Maybe we should try to vet the foreign money versus in-state, out-of-state money versus trying to raise it to 60%. But that's a little too difficult question about how are you going to do it, okay? Now, on top of that, it's not just out of state. 501c4 organizations.
Look at this for a minute, Mikhail. Look at this. Somebody sent me this today. We got California, money from California, money from New York, the ACLU, the gun lobbyists, the big government, nationally, transgender, LGBTQ, Planned Parenthood. They're all licking their chops trying to get this thing passed.
Right.
Or make sure it doesn't pass.
But they've got all this other cash that they've already got the things queued up. That's what I was saying there. They got the things queued up to legalize old drugs and whatever else. They've got things queued up. They haven't started gathering, but that's going to come. They're going to try to say things like, support public schools. Meanwhile, you and I are going to have to fundraise and say, no, this is going to kill the school choice, the very school choice you just got done talking about. So it's everything. It's not just abortion. It's everything. This is why it's very unfortunate that a lot of pro-life groups keep tying on November and August vote together. It's very challenging. Are you listening to me? Anybody? Are you listening to me? Are you trying to get people to vote or not?
I know. That's the key. That's the key. How do we get people to vote? How do we get them to vote? Hang on a second. Jake, Sabrina, out in Licking County. Hang on 1 second, Mikhail. I want you guys to jump in, chime in a little bit too, because I know that this is, you guys are as involved as anybody. Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to, maybe it's been a little bit of a slow play from the party, from the ORP, but it does seem like we're hitting a groove now with a bunch of pro-life groups, a bunch of Protect Ohio's Constitution from the ORP. It does seem like we're hitting a groove now with signs, with people reaching out to us that want signs, that understand the issue, that are willing to. I heard about a church today that had a vote yes table, and every person went home with a sign. That's what it's going to take. I think it's starting to happen. I'm shocked that it took this long for us all to get organized, but I think we're going to pull it off. I think, to me, it looks like we're hitting a groove. And yes, there is a lot of vote no signs out there, but once people hear what this is about, they hear what's on the table. We're going to be able to turn people out. I think our district, District 20, which is Licking, Fairfield, and Perry, all the Republican parties, all the county parties have endorsed issue 1. They should be doing their part. We hope they are. And if everyone does their part, I think we're going to win big, at least in our area, and we should win all across the state.
That's good. That's good news to hear. I don't know if it's quite. I get that same feeling here in Cuyahoga County, though. I don't get to quite as feel so secure about it. I only see vote no signs everywhere, and the county party hasn't even gotten the signs together yet. Our county party doesn't have the signs in yet that say vote yes.
They did. They did, and they ran out. At some point, about a week to go before early vote, they had only 60 signs left. I took 10 of them. There were a handful placed in your suburb. Those handful alerted, and I strategically placed them in the more Republican precincts with the observant Jews. Suddenly, the neighbors noticed. They demanded their own signs. We can't give it to them because we ran out. I could put some in the Mayfield Village. Again, ran out. I ran out several times with the handouts. I'm literally doing black and white copies of the 8.5 by 11 that the county put out just so I can hand out to people. So it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge in Cuyahoga County. The left is mobilized big time. They're pushing the early vote. We are still fumbling around. I don't know if you heard Tom Kelly's show earlier today. It's like pulling teeth. People are paying attention to everything except the number one issue. Number one issue is issue 1. It's going to take the state in the wrong or right direction for decades to come. And too few people are paying attention. It is still challenging. I give you good news. The good news is that the left also has its challenge cut out. A whole lot of left-wing strongholds aren't as organized. They're not seeing the numbers that they should be seeing. But we on the right are also struggling. Every time I'm having this conversation with voters that are supposed to getting people out, they're confused. They're asking me, wait a minute, weren't we supposed to know to oppose all this stuff? No, that's for November. That's some other stuff. You got to vote yes now, and it's taking a lot of the explanation. It's sucking a lot of wins. But there's no choice. There's no choice. We got to push it through, soldier on. We only got a few left. I mean, this is day what?
I don't know, but we're in the heart of voting right now. People don't even realize that we're in the heart of voting right now.
First day, I drove to other people in. I'm trying to change the conservative religion about the whole voting on the day of election thing. No need to create lines in the voting places, okay? You find the time somewhere in the weekday during the 4 weeks, and you drive to your Board of Elections in your county, and you cast your vote. It's not going to be stolen. The ballots are sitting there. They're open. They're opened by members of both parties with the cameras. They're tabulated at the end of the day, which is why at the end.
And Frank LaRose is right there too. Frank LaRose is going to be eyeballing every single ballot that comes in. So
listen, we got challenges. We got challenges, especially in Cuyahoga County, with voter registration and under whose name things are mailed in. Okay, but as far as the photo ID, as far as the day of election sort of fraud or in-person early fraud, yes, there are some problems, but they're minimal. So really, all this talk of stolen election 2024, Dominion voting machines, shut up, and get out the vote.
Yeah, right. Quit complaining. Just get to the darn voting booth. So it's not. Let me read this. It's not that hard to understand who you're talking to and tailor your message.
It is hard. No, I disagree. It's
huge
hard.
groups
It's
of pro-life
hard.
folks who aren't going to turn out for the protect the Constitution. You need to. All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to say that, hey, you got to get this up high because it's going to benefit in November, and the other side has really good, strong propaganda as well. So it's.
They lie and they have no problem lying. So I give you an example of why it's hard. Conversations with, literally in the last 24 hours, some conservatives. I don't want to change any constitution. It should be really difficult to change. Okay, great. So you're going to vote yes. Well, wait a minute. I should vote no to stop the changes. No, you understand. You got to vote yes to stop the future changes. Now you're confusing me. What do you say? I got to vote no. I got to vote yes. I'm telling you, Joe, this is not such an easy sell. The other part that's making it difficult, I don't know about Perry. I don't know about Licking County. I can tell you in Cuyahoga County, a lot of conservatives Republicans are getting a little dispirited. They're not seeing the commercials for the yes side.
Right. There's no commercials. I got you.
We're watching Channel 8. We got to try to listen. I was just at the birthday party getting some votes from some of the not so decided voters. They played like a little video for the birthday people. What do you know? The video was from the internet. What shows up before the video? A YouTube commercial for the no side. They're lying through their teeth. We got nothing on the air. Do you know if we got anything on the air in any media market?
I have not seen anything. I haven't seen anything, but that goes along with the propaganda. I want to bring Michael in here for just a minute. Hey, Michael. So you understand the propaganda or the problem. Let me get your perspective from someone. Do you understand the issue in August and November? Does the average voter out there understand it, in your opinion, do you think?
I don't know. And as I mentioned to you, I don't really do a lot of analysis of state level issues. So like, for example, me, I'm not that on state issues. I knew we had a vote coming up in August, and I knew it had to do with this issue. I hadn't read about it. I hadn't read the bill. So I did plan on doing that, and I did plan on voting, but right. I haven't done any kind of, an analysis of how it's being covered in the media or, the marketing of each side, that sort of thing. So I really don't know.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to ask you that question because, that's a perfect example there, Mikhail. Michael is he's a Republican, but he's more the mainstream type person out there. He's sort of following it a little bit, but he's confused. So, what do you do? What do we do?
Well, the challenge is there's too many people that are saying there, oh, yeah, we got time. We're going to get the yard signs again. We're going to get the handouts again for all the people that are demanding them. No, we don't have time. We're late. The voting started already. We got to get this thing for the whole put on your Sunday's best and go on the day of election to vote. Excuse me. Just because you're going to be stubborn and vote on the day of election isn't going to shrink our election month down to election day where it's supposed to be. In fact, you're not doing anybody any favors. You got to go vote early. You've got to get the campaign out early. You've got to get on the air early. Remember J.D. Vance's campaign last year? People were getting cold feet because, Labor Day or whatever, August, when it was the first time he put something out? And the left is hammering unanswered for months and months. And people are like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Where's the answer? Where's the answer? So it was very unsettling. Again, Look,
Yeah, I was biting my fingernails. I was biting my fingernails with that J.D. Vance. I was even saying the guy was lazy because he wouldn't get out and do anything. He finally did, and he did do a lot. He did campaign very, very well eventually, but yeah, it took a while. But we don't have a lot of time. You know, August 8th is going to be here before we know it. And if this does not pass the way we want it to, then these leftist organizations are just going to infiltrate Ohio with so much money. It ain't going to, even. You know who else is telling us to vote no on issue 1? The Democratic Socialists of America.
They do.
The Democratic Social. Well, I'm just saying, you got the communists, you got the socialists, you got everybody. They're all saying vote no, vote no, vote no. They're licking their chops, as I've been saying. They see an opportunity here.
They're hypocritical. A lot of those organizations demand 50+% to change their own little bylaws and constitutions. So of course it's hypocritical. Their entire slogan, "one person, one vote," is has nothing to do with the issue. Of course they're lying through their teeth. But if you don't put your commercials on the air, it's not going to be enough for Joe Miller and for Michaela Alterman to just muscle it through. You need to run commercials. Maybe you're a minority, but you still need to be on the air. I don't know where the Ohio Chumpster of Commerce, okay? I don't know where the Second Amendment groups are. The pro-life groups, I've seen some internet stuff, but I'm not seeing anything on the local television. I'm not hearing about the radio ad buys, nothing. What are you waiting for? 2 days before election? When 40% of the vote is already in? When the minds are made up? Minds are made up? Oh, we got time before election.
Yeah, you're right. They got to get moving on that. The one person, one vote thing, by the way, this is a slogan they're trying to go national with. They want to go national with that because they want to get rid of the Electoral College. So keep that in mind. So they're starting it here in Ohio. We're a testing ground, but they want to take that message national.
Why don't these Democrat socialists run for $1 million an hour for a living wage? Why not? Make everybody rich. Makes as much sense as the rest of the agenda.
Yeah, you got it. All right. I'll let you guys have a last word if you wanted to say anything. Not to put you on the spot or anything like that. But
no, it's okay. I do understand what you're saying. We get a lot of questions. One thing that we did have someone jump on pretty quickly here were magnets, and so we did magnets on our car. We have them on our vehicles. That's a good point. Yeah. It's actually been really helpful. I mean, I go to the bank, people ask me about it. We're in line. My daughter did have someone that gave her a thumbs down as they were passing by. So, I mean, it's getting some traction, but I know, I do think sometimes the Republican Party is just a little bit behind the gate, but we are doing our best. Jake is doing so much. He has gotten the signs and the pamphlets out, and so I think there was an opening just over the last couple of days for us here in District 20. I'm sorry you guys aren't having the same results right now, but I know it can be very discouraging, but I do know the Bible says do not grow weary in doing good, so we are still continuing to use our voice and do good as possible. And so you can't worry, we just have to continue to go out and use our voice. Like you said, Michaela, I think we just have to keep shouting, keep talking, keep telling people, vote yes, vote yes, vote yes.
Yes, and I think, the early voting gives you permission basically to text people from now until August 8th and say, all of us should be texting 20 to 50 people every day, and then the next day another 20 to 50 more people, reminding them that they can go and vote at the Board of Elections, send them the videos, a couple short videos, telling them why they should vote, ask them if they want to sign, and we're going to have to do this. We're not going to be able to wait on the big money to come in. It's going to have to be done by people like us getting involved and not waiting. They may run commercials. They may come in with gazillions yet with more signs, but we can't be waiting around. We have to every day be working on it because really issue 1 is about protecting children. It's not just, it says protect the Constitution. It's about protecting life. It's basically about protecting, everything we love about the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
We've voted Republican for how many years? We've got a full Republican state house, state senate, supposed Republican governor, but we've done our job the voters have. and now there's this loophole where the liberals can sneak in. And so we feel like issue 1 protects these things from what the liberals want to do. And
which a lot of people are just uneducated right now, and they're uneducated because they don't realize. I didn't realize. I mean, I will take full responsibility in being someone that is uneducated when it comes to different things. But as soon as you hear what the issue is, it's just common sense. It's common sense. And so we're also going to county meetings. We've gone to our county meetings to talk about this. It's not necessarily the county party. We have meetings with people that meet outside of the county party, because our county parties are a little cuckoo. But we are continuing just to encourage people to educate. And I also will say this medical freedom group that's going around the state of Ohio, they have got to get on board with understanding what is going on right now and quit being so dang selfish. I don't know if you guys know about the medical freedom group, and Joe, I might get some flack for this, but I don't care. People are so selfish right now. They have got to stop acting so dang selfish and remember that this is not just about their medical freedom. You already have medical freedom. If you didn't, during 2020, use your right for medical freedom underneath the U.S. Constitution and the fact just to tell your employer or whoever it was telling that you needed to get something in your arm that you're saying no to, that's your issue. The issue that we have right now is that it's way too easy to change our Constitution. That's what we're focused on. And if in the future you guys want to pass some things in the legislation about medical freedom, then let's get it done. But right now, we're talking about stop being selfish and vote yes on the date.
No, that's great. That's terrific. Yeah, absolutely. Mikkel, you want to edit with anything?
Yeah, there's still a few conservative people that are like, what? They don't want to shut the door because maybe you want to change Constitution, not just for medical freedom, but some other things. Excuse me, you're outnumbered with, as far as dollars, thousands to 1. Okay, if there's any medical freedom that's going to make it to the ballot, okay, I don't see an infrastructure that's comparable to what the left has, especially with the out-of-state, out-of-the-country dollars. So yes, we need to shut this down because it's not realistic, and there's no point in being theoretical about, maybe you want to keep this door open because maybe you want constitutional amendments. Look, I mean, back in the day, I don't know if you remember, even pre-Kasich, I was gathering signatures to eliminate Ohio death tax. I'm familiar with this. So yes, I'm shutting the door on the very thing I've been a part of, because the political reality for decades to come is that we need to make it harder to amend the Ohio Constitution. So this way we focus on the elections and then on elections elected officials, so people like Sandra O'Brien can push good legislation through. That's the way to push the agenda.
Yeah. And Joe, I would also say Sandra did an excellent job of explaining what issue 1 is tonight. She did an excellent job, and I'm thankful for her voice and what she's doing in the Senate. That's really amazing. And I would also add, too, I think the medical marijuana stuff is another thing that people are being so selfish about. You making marijuana legal in any state is absurd. And if you think I'm wrong on that, visit New York tomorrow. This weekend, and go see if you like what's happening in New York, just on the streets. Just visit for an hour. There's so much marijuana coming through, walking through the streets, walking through your taxi when you jump in. You can't even breathe. I can't even take my kids to the Rockettes and enjoy it because there's so much marijuana that's happening out in the streets when we're walking by. I don't want my kids exposed to that. If that's something you decide to do, that's fine. But making it legal in the state of Ohio, and if you're voting no on for that reason, you're being selfish as well. It's just ridiculous how selfish people are.
I got you. Very good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but issue 1 is the most important issue I could think of. It's coming up in August. We got to make sure everybody gets out and votes. Vote and vote often, as I always say. Okay. Hey, we're going to, vote often. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, man. It's like, come on. Okay, so I got Michael Mercier here, and how are you, Michael?
Good.
We got to talk about some of the bias in the media and stuff like this. But first of all, I got to show you a clip here from our President of the United States. Here, watch this. Here he is, Joe Biden. There he goes. Somebody tripped him. Look, he'll point. He'll say, watch. This happened last month, too. That's what tripped me, see? There was something on the ground there that tripped him. All right, so that happened last month. Hardly made any news or anything, but he's always tripping and falling and everything. But is there a little bit of a media bias, do you think, in that regards? What about Trump? I mean, if Trump did something like that, they would never let it die, ever.
Well, of course, yeah. There's clearly bias with, reporting or interpreting or framing incidents like that. Yeah. But I feel that the bigger issue with media bias has to do with, really serious issues and incidents. And that's something that I've...
Let me just piggyback off of that for a second here. And let's talk about what it is that you're doing now, because you have a new, you have a website up, and you guys are doing some really good work. Here's the website, Media Accountability. And let me see.
Yeah, it's the Media Accountability Project. So this is there's an organization here in Cincinnati called Empower You, and it was started 13 years ago by the gentleman you see there, Dan Reginald. So Dan started Empower You, and basically his idea, it's sort of like at a grassroots level, he wants to educate people at a local level. So he basically offers 2 courses a week. They're like an hour and a half every week. And they'll take a month off around the holiday and then a month or 2 off in the summertime. But pretty much, it's at least twice a week they're offering courses. The courses are in person and online simultaneously, so they're live streamed. So and the courses cover a broad spectrum of issues.
So what is the where should they go if they want the information? Is it Empower You, or should they go to that website we were showing?
So they could go to either one. There's a link at Empower You. So Dan basically started this media accountability project initiative, and the goal is to hold the news media accountable. So we want to out and expose, report on any obvious biases that we identify in the news media and their reporting, or offer issue reports that provide the viewpoint that's being censored, right? So Dan asked me to run this initiative because I had given a
Dan's
talk.
a good guy. Dan is a good guy.
He's a
you
very
can
good
trust
guy.
him.
He is. Yeah. He's a great guy.
Let me ask you a question, though, Michael. So some of the examples you were telling me, election fraud, COVID-19, January 6th, is there, could you give an example on any of that maybe? Like there's obvious bias, but maybe you could explain it in terms that are a lot better than I could explain it. But
so part of the point here, what we see in the news media, if you basically see a polarity between liberal and conservative news outlets and then mainstream and independent news outlets. So there's a polarity. And what a lot of people talk about how the news media are polarizing the country. And what they'll say is like, well, we just don't see things the same way, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not the problem. What's causing the polarization is that the one side is not reporting the facts. So what you see is, on one side they're either making up facts or they're completely censoring facts. And so that's what we see with issues like, COVID-19. If you look at COVID-19, initially
you could get thrown into. I got thrown into I think YouTube jail for doing a podcast on that. It was COVID-19, just saying it's a bunch of BS and stuff like that. I mean, I just uploaded it, and then those bots that go out there, they caught it, and I was thrown in jail.
Right.
No justice. No justice.
Right. So one side is completely censoring information about like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine or vaccine injuries, right? Mm-hmm. And the other side wasn't. But eventually, the conservative side sort of with the liberals. What we saw was the polarity shifted between liberal and conservative. They sort of joined together, and then we saw a polarity between mainstream media and independent media. So basically, we had the independent media reporting all the facts that were available on the vaccines, on ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and it was being censored by the mainstream media. So what ends up happening is we basically, the two sides of the country get shoved into alternative realities, and you can't have a dialogue. If one side isn't getting all the facts that the other side is getting, you can't have a dialogue.
So could you give me an example then, just to clarify it really crystal clear? So if they're covering the same story, how would one side cover it with using the facts and the other side cover it using the facts, but you get two different realities?
Let's look at the election fraud in the 2020 election, right? On the liberal side, there were all sorts of reports that went on for like 2 months between the election and Joe Biden's inauguration, right? I mean, it was just a constant stream of reporting on specific examples of election fraud, right? What they were saying on the liberal side is that Donald Trump is claiming there was election fraud, and his claims are baseless, right? Well, that's really not what was happening. If you looked at conservative media, it was voters and American citizens reporting on election fraud, right? So you had like 2 to 3 months between November 8th or whatever it was till January 6th. On a daily basis, you're getting new facts. You have time to absorb the information, to analyze it, to go out on the internet and cross-check it, to get alternative viewpoints, to analyze it yourself, right? Look at, for example, each of the states, the battleground states, the state legislatures held election fraud hearings. There was like, I think, 30 hours of hearings live streamed, and it's all still available on YouTube right now, right? So if you watched like 20 hours of that over like 2 weeks, you got a lot of examples of citizens saying, this is the fraud that I witnessed, but it wasn't being covered and reported on the other side. So here's how this manifests. If I talk to my sister in California about the election fraud, I start talking about, well, Jesse Morgan, he was a driver for the post office, and he held a press conference and said he transported 260,000 ballots from New York to Pennsylvania on a tractor trailer, and then it disappeared overnight. And she doesn't know what I'm talking about. She's like, "Who's Jesse Morgan?" I've seen 20 reports on this, and she doesn't know the guy's name.
Right.
Hunter Biden laptop. How many times did I try to talk to my friends before the election about the laptop, and they didn't know what I was talking about? So they think I'm crazy.
So what you're saying is like the Hunter Biden stuff like that isn't even being covered on some of the websites or some of the news sources or anything like that.
All sorts of issues. Oh, yeah. The Twitter files. That wasn't most of my liberal friends don't know anything about the Twitter files. They don't even know what that term means.
Amazing.
January 6th, they have no idea what went on with that. A recent example would be the House Oversight Committee hearings, where they reported, this was like a month and a half ago, that they had definitive proof that Joe Biden had received a $5 million bribe from a Ukrainian businessman. NPR didn't report that. I listen to NPR every morning. They did not report that to their audience. So on the other side, they're not getting that information. So the bottom line is, when you try to have a dialogue with people, it breaks down because you don't have a common set of facts. So you can't get to debate like, well, what should we do? Each side just gets mad and thinks the other side is crazy, and you walk away.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's by design. Yeah.
You guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely agree. And you can't tell me that it takes, how many weeks did it take for them to figure out who was president? I mean, since when do we take weeks to figure out who a president is? That's just common sense. That doesn't happen.
Well, remember, it's not who gets the most votes, it's who counts the votes. And
Right.
they were spending a lot of time counting the votes.
And printing ballots.
Yeah, the whole thing is pretty amazing. Now, I got to point out, you're from Massachusetts, which is not the most conservative state, and you voted for Obama, but you said you would never vote for him again. You'd never vote for Obama again. I mean, well, let's put it this way. He's not going to run again, but if he was running, you would not vote for him. Why?
Right. Obama engineered his campaign, right? If you looked at his platform, he ran as an antidote to everything that George Bush did that everyone hated. The wars, running up the debt. lack of transparency, infringing on our human freedoms. And so Obama ran as an antidote to that. The gutting of the economy, shipping jobs abroad. Obama ran as an antidote to all that. So I voted for him. And then it was literally like within a week of him being elected, when he started announcing his cabinet, I thought, oh my God, this guy just brazenly lied. He said he was going to keep Washington insiders, special interests, lobbyists out of his administration. And then everyone he put in his cabinet was an insider, right? And then everything out, he said he was going to renegotiate NAFTA, right? And about a month after that, he just quietly announced he wasn't going to, but he said he was going to renegotiate NAFTA so it benefited, saved American jobs and benefited Main Street. He was going to put tariffs on China. He was going to cut our debt.
But I got you. And so, don't we hear the same thing from Joe Biden, though? His administration that, he says a lot, he just makes up facts out of nowhere, and he tries to sell those facts and stuff. But
we do. We hear the same thing. But part of my point here is when Donald Trump emerged in 2016, he basically took 80% of his platform was taken from Obama's 2008 platform. It was the same platform almost, right? So that's why I switched to Trump. I'm like, okay, well, he's going to fulfill all of Obama's promises from 08, and at least he tried to. He fulfilled a lot of them, and some where he failed, he tried to. But nobody made that connection that they basically had the same, placed tariffs on China. Obama promised to do that, and he didn't.
So I think I told you this. I may have said this to you, but I saw a headline just today, and it said that basically Joe Biden might be unstoppable in 2024. And I'm sure that's not on any of the conservative news sites or anything like that. But that's the media bias and stuff. Hey, one other question here. You just had let me read this. You just had something that was put on the Cincinnati Enquirer. So it was an op-ed that you did talking about the Ukraine and defending them as unsustainable. But what's really interesting here, and if you want to talk about it a little bit, the correlation between John F. Kennedy and Trump. This is my own personal from reading your article. I could see John F. Kennedy wearing one of those "Make America Great" caps. Didn't he say, "Ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for you," which is kind of like a MAGA movement, right?
Right. Well, that's why I wrote the op-ed. I actually, every year I go on around the anniversary of his death, I go on a Kennedy Jag on YouTube, and I watch all these speeches and interviews and press conferences. And so I saw this interview he did in December of '62, and he was complaining. He was mad. He's complaining like, NATO, we bailed them out of World War II. We invested like billions to rebuild Europe after the war. Now they're prosperous, they're rich, but they won't pay for their own domestic territorial defense. We're still like, not only are we funding NASA and the nuclear arsenal, we have the largest Navy in the world, we're bearing the responsibility for South Vietnam. We're doing all that. We're basically defending the free world. Not only are we doing all that, but we have to go in and supply the troops to defend Europe, like place, all the supply lines and depots and all the troops we had there. He's complaining that basically that NATO wasn't carrying its weight, and I thought, so this has been, I remembered, of course, that Trump complained in 2017, 2018, that NATO wasn't carrying its weight. It wasn't paying its, spending 2% of GDP as it was required to under the treaty, right, for defense, and we were basically carrying them on defense. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this has been going on for 60 years. Here we are with Ukraine, and we're still disproportionately bearing the burden, the financial burden.
Yeah,
right, to defend.
So
I wanted to draw that parallel. Like the Democrats used to view it this way. This is an old problem,
Why are we paying? I don't know if you can give a really quick answer to this, but why are we paying so much money when the European nations aren't doing their fair share? They haven't been doing it. That was the argument that John F. Kennedy had, and if John F. Kennedy were around today, I don't think the Democratic Party would recognize him.
Right.
That shows you how much they've shifted.
That was the whole point. I wanted to draw that parallel in this op-ed, right, and say it's an absurd position. Because when Trump brought this up in 2017, he was attacked. They accused him of not supporting our allies. So the implicit assumption, in 2017 was, well, we shouldn't expect Europe to pay anything. Of course we should pay it all. That was basically the attitude. And Trump was viewed as being a jerk for asking them to pay. And it's absurd. So here we are. We have some people today making the same argument about Ukraine. Like, plus today we're $32 trillion in debt. We're almost bankrupt, right? Mm-hmm. So what's wrong? We spent $100 billion. What's wrong with shifting the burden to Europe? For the next $100 billion. And if they don't have the money, let them borrow the money if this is important to them. And if it's not important, I guess they don't feel threatened or they really don't care about the issue.
Yeah, it's so close to them too. The whole war, it's just right in their backyard.
Right. That's the point. So I really wanted to highlight this because it's such common sense, and to hear that JFK felt this way, So.
But there really is no. You're bringing up information so that we become aware of it, but there really is no solution to it, right? This media bias is going to continue, right? I mean, what can you do about it? If you watch CNN and NPR and those more liberal stations, you're going to have one worldview, and if you're watching some of the conservative stuff, you have a different worldview.
Right. Well, that's true. But I want to make another point here, Joe. Is what I brought up in the piece also is that when Kennedy complained, the U.S. news media supported him. They agreed with him. They were concerned. They challenged him on it. Like, what are you gonna do? And they actually talked about the fact that, if you can't get Europe to increase its spending on defense, you might have a problem getting approval for your budgets for Europe's defense from Congress, and you might lose support from the American public. So it was like throughout the society, there was a common understanding, from what I got from these interviews, everyone was aware this was going on, and there was a general common sense view, like Europe has to step up now and spend its own money. So what I noticed was the news media has changed too. They supported Kennedy, agreed with him in the 60s, but today, both the Democrat Party and the news media, no, they somehow they believe we should bear this burden.
Yeah. Well, as long as we have Biden in there, I guess we will be doing that. There's your website again, Media Accountability, and you're looking for citizen journalists to help write stories and to get them in op-eds like the Cincinnati Enquirer. Let's see what.
Right. So
yep.
It's all volunteer citizen journalists. So anyone who has a passion about the news media and wants to criticize the news media or present the views that aren't being presented by the mainstream news media. You could write one article for us. You could have a column if you wanted. We started to produce videos too. If you're into video and you want to produce video reports or start a podcast, we'd be happy to carry that. But again, the focus is on criticizing media bias or compensating for what they're not covering.
Gotcha.
So, and it's mediaaccountabilityproject.org.
Awesome.
Or there's a link from the Empower You website.
That's great.
Very good. Well, thank you, Michael. We really appreciate it. That's very good information, and hope we can have you on again sometime real soon. Keep us updated on all that. But appreciate it. Thank you.
Right.
God bless you.
Great. Well, thank you.
All right. So. All right, we're going to keep moving here as we always do. We're moving along. Okay, Jake and Sabrina. Are you out there? There you guys are. Jake and Sabrina. Hey, I got to play this. Now, I thought you were thrown in YouTube jail, but Jake said it was really you were thrown in Facebook jail, so that's my problem. I messed up on this. So what the heck are you doing now? How'd you get into trouble again? Can't imagine.
Hey, Sabrina's, she just tells the truth, man. They don't like it.
Well, I used to have a Facebook account a gosh, I've had it forever. And then 2020 hit, and I literally just made a stance to say that the real pandemic was abortion, not this crazy 99.9% survival rate, whatever they were calling it. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say it anymore, but I went on in 2020 just to give my stance, and over Facebook, it was social media. That was our way to use our voice, still is the way I use our voice. And they shut me down constantly. And then eventually they literally have deleted my whole entire Facebook page. That was back a few years ago. So I was off Facebook for probably, I think, like 7, maybe 9 months. I just decided to get off of social media. And then we just have had some things happen here in Licking County. And I was, again, just fed up with what was going on, and was getting tons of this information about kids and people going through things. And I'm like, hey, social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it, but it's our voice. Get information out. So I opened up another Facebook page, and it's been fine for a while, but I'm in a pretty heated battle again in Licking County, and have been since we ran for state central committee. And I've been getting censored again. And so I just got censored again, and my account is shut down for 30
How many
days.
times, is the account shut down now? So how many times can you get thrown in jail before they throw the key away for Facebook?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? It was so bizarre that they closed my last one down. I mean, I'm not really sure. I remember I had posted something. I don't even know if Mark Twain said this or not, but it was a meme going around that said, oh, crud, what did it say?
I know what it is. It said, no amount of evidence will
yeah.
change the mind of an idiot.
Yeah.
Basically.
It was
she just quoted it. And they shut her down
it
for
was
that.
the last
that,
straw. And so that, but you have to remember.
And you were
Joe,
talking
that-
about COVID-19, the pandemic, and all that kind of stuff. You were referencing that.
They just had enough.
but it
We're
wasn't
supposed to
just
live in a
that.
free country where you can express yourself.
That's what I say.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
what I always thought.
It's a personal Facebook page. I'm in Granville, Ohio. Who am I harming? I must be harming someone. But they can't find kids. I mean, are you kidding me? You can shut me down and censor me, and I live in Little Granville, Ohio, but you can't find kids that are missing in Cleveland. You can't find 23 of them. You can't find trafficked kids. I feel like there's something really wrong with the fact of the censorship that's happening right now, but they cannot find kids that go missing. It's BS.
Hey, you guys want to talk about this also while we're on the subject of Freedom
Let's
Fest?
have your
Yeah. So, July 29th, this is at our farm. It's at North 64 Farms. We call it Freedom Fest. So we have Cash Patel, Bernie Moreno.
I got a question for you. Hang a second. How the heck did you get Cash Patel?
Well,
we know people, man.
Connections. How the heck did you get Bernie Moreno? I mean,
Bernie,
Bernie is
if
a
you
genuine guy.
If you haven't watched our YouTube video about Bernie, you should. Bernie is a gentleman. He stepped into our life at a really important time for us, and he is the word gentleman is all I can say about Bernie.
And he puts his money where his mouth is,
Yes,
too.
he does.
He's not just, a self-promoter.
Yeah.
He went to East Palestine that day Trump was in town. Day we were up there. He found someone that needed that their car broke down. It was going to cost a fortune to buy. Bernie just gave him a car that day while he was up there.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy that just hears about something, gets involved,
And
asks
gets it
questions.
done.
He gives you, when you meet him, he'll give you his cell phone. He'll ask how he can help. I mean, the guy really believes in. He's running for Senate.
He believes in freedom. He believes in the United States of America and the freedom that we have and that we fought for, and coming into this country legally. He
Right.
believes in the legal
no,
process.
he didn't. All right, he came in legally. You got to believe it. Yeah, that's the way to
He
do it.
believes in the American dream.
And so, anyway, Bernie knows Cash, not us. And
So you guys
so
got
Bernie-
connections all over the place. This is July
Wow.
29th. July 29th, out at your place.
Yes.
That's right.
Joe, are you coming?
I'm going to try to be there. Yeah, I'm going to try to be there. I'd
should
love to
come.
be there.
Yeah.
But let me
a lot
ask
of
you.
young-
Yeah, you got a lot
Yeah,
of young people there, and boy, you must have a lot of property. I'm going out on a limb saying that, but you must have a lot of property.
Not as much as Bill Gates does in Ohio, but we do have property in Ohio.
It looks like you got a lot of property. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
This is a 64-acre farm. We've got an event venue, and we're ready to host. I mean, we're working out the final touches. We've got a couple entertainers that we've got lined up and that are going to perform. We got a guy from Florida. His name is Glenn Baker. He's kind of a Hank Williams Jr. kind of guy. And then we have a rapper, Christian rapper, Nate Simpson. Maybe and then we have a guy named Luke, is it Pert? Luke Pert is going to perform the national anthem. He's a U.S. Army veteran. So we think we have a really good lineup.
We got a great lineup, yeah. What time does Cash Patel speak?
That is the big question, but it's going to be between 5:30 and 6:30.
We will have a schedule out. We've got just a few more details to work out with Bernie and Cash on their schedule, but we will have an itinerary set out here probably within the next week and a half. And we're going to be talking about issue 1. So this is, July 29th, just a few days, a week or so before August 8th, the election. So they're very much, or at least Bernie is very aware that issue 1, we need to vote yes. And so we're really centering this around issue 1 and just really wanting people to come out and remember that Ohio is Republican and Republicans need to act like Republicans. They need to behave. And if they want to act like Democrats, then they can go and get on the Democratic side. But in the state of Ohio, we believe in life. We believe in female and male, two genders. We don't have 25,000 genders.
That's right.
And so, marriage between a man and a woman, we don't need to be bringing
all that controversial stuff. All that controversial stuff. Hey, I was just looking at some of the numbers here for Bernie Moreno, and he is running for Senate, obviously. Second quarter numbers for fundraising: Matt Dolan, $308,000; Bernie Moreno, $2.2 million.
Yeah. And he's setting records already.
The thing with Bernie that cracks me up, literally, he is such someone who is just, he's kind, he's competitive, but he is a straight shooter. And the thing with Matt Dolan right now, you have to pay attention to the people that are getting behind Matt Dolan. These county parties, these washed up, crazy people, Jay Hottinger, Betty Montgomery, these people, I'm telling you, you have to watch who's getting behind Matt Dolan. They're telling you who they are, and they are Democrats. They are rhinos, they are Democrats, and they're going to turn just like Kasich did. I guarantee it.
That's right.
So we have to pay attention to
He is getting, Dolan is getting more of the liberal donors in Ohio. No question about it. The rhinos. Bernie Moreno is getting more of the conservative, but that's a huge discrepancy there. $308,000 versus $2.2 million. That's the second quarter haul. Now Dolan is throwing a lot of his own money in, and we don't know how much money Bernie is throwing in yet because he hasn't reported it. But Sherrod Brown's got almost $9 million total in his war chest. So it's, the Democrats don't want to let go of that seat. And one other thing too. Frank LaRose is still talking about coming in, but I don't know. I think it might be too late for him to jump on board.
Well, I think if Frank LaRose gets in, it's a 100% chance Bernie wins because Frank and Frank LaRose and Matt Dolan are going to split the rhino vote.
Yeah,
Bernie's going to run. Bernie will win big if
That's
Frank
a good
gets
point.
in.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
I personally hope Frank does get in, actually, for that reason. And Frank LaRose has basically offended all of, just this past week, there's something that came out where he said something about not just Trump, but also the MAGA movement. So that's going to be hard for him because you can't win in Ohio and offend the MAGA Trump.
You can't
do it.
No, that doesn't work well. But although I thought he was always trying to get Trump's endorsement. Wasn't he always trying to get Trump's endorsement? Yeah. But the thing is with Frank LaRose, I don't know if the money's available because the donors are starting to take sides now, and the conservative ones are clearly going for Moreno. The more liberal donors in Ohio, are clearly going for Matt Dolan. So if he doesn't jump on board soon, I don't think he's got a chance. But then you brought up a really good point, is if he does get involved it's probably going to benefit Bernie Moreno tremendously. So, hey guys, well, tell us one last time about your event, and we're gonna say goodnight here. So
yes, you're invited to Freedom Fest at our farm, North 64 Farms, July 29th. So the doors are going to open at 4. And it's going to be amazing.
No. The gates open at 2, and we have gates out here, not doors. We live in the country.
Oh, that's right.
But also, a lot of people are asking us what the cost is. There's no cost, but we will have vendors here, so please bring your money for them. We do not take any of the cut of that. The money is going to the vendors there's going to be food trucks, T-shirts, different things that you can purchase. But also, if you could go to Facebook and say that you're coming so that we can gauge how many people are going to be coming. That is your ticket to get in. There's no tickets, but if you can go to Facebook and click that you're coming to the event, that would be awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, you're doing a great job. July 29th. All right, well, have a good night. God bless, and we hope, take some video. We want to show that video. Guys, have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Good.